Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show at this time of Easter. In this week's episode, I discuss why Easter matters, why I say thank God for sending Jesus Christ. I explore this idea, the benefits of Easter, of why indeed it matters, of the principles that we live in Australia, in America, in Europe. The principles of Western civilizations are rooted in Christianity, and Easter without Christ, without Christianity, is a nonsense. At least the principles of Christianity, and how that leads to the value of you, the value of me, the value of each one of us as individuals, not just as a collective. And those insights, those ideas can lead you to live life in a whole new way. You matter. Stick around and find out why. This weekly show is founded on the formula SA plus P equals S, self-awareness plus passion equals success. Since 1993, when I left the legal career that I loved, I have been provoking, inspiring, educating audiences about the value of passion, about how amazing each one of us can become. And I've done that through speeches, through workshops, through ongoing team building programs, through one-on-one executive coaching. I've also shared those ideas in my two books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance. These ideas work. When you access, discover, find your passion and pursue it, life becomes an amazing experience. You become an amazing success. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." So I hope when you watch the show, when you listen to the show on the podcast, it provokes you to continue to examine your life. You can see I'm wearing my red jacket, red, the colour of passion, so that you are reminded that when you see something red in your life, you think passion, and it provokes you to think, am I pursuing my passion? Have I done the work to discover my passion? I have a 17-step process for discovering your passion. If you don't know what it is, if you would like it, please send me an email to charles@kovess.com. The address is in the show notes. It's also on the screen from time to time. Each week I explore one big idea in this show because too many ideas confuse us. Too many ideas cause us to not choose any idea. One big idea supported by a song, a quote, a book, a spiritual tip, a health tip, and some humour. Life was not meant to be entirely serious. Indeed, there are some who say that life actually is a game, who say that life actually is a joke. Interesting thought, isn't it? Do you think it's a joke? This show is not politically correct. I am anti-woke. I am anti-cancel culture. I have no desire to be politically correct. This show is based on what I believe, what I think is of value in life, based on many decades of experience, based on magnificent mentors that I have had. It is not guided by what is politically acceptable today. I hope you make your decisions based on what's true for you, not on what is politically correct. Regular viewers and listeners know that this show also supports certain addictions. One of them being my addiction to wonderful coffee. Coffee, the fuel of champions, so I say. This show subscribes to the view that we have a spirit, a soul, And so spiritual matters form a foundation for the ideas behind this, because my definition of passion is that it's a source of unlimited energy from your spirit that enables you to produce extraordinary results. So, what's been happening in the world this week? In this week before Easter. And this show is coming out a day later than normal because I didn't want to interrupt your Easter family time. Well, the world went on in the last week. Corruption abounding in political circles, left, right and centre. In Australia, in America, sexual scandals by politicians or being accused of sexual misbehaviours. Corruption scandals of politicians getting money underhand. Questions around the economy. How can governments keep shutting down economies and just borrowing endlessly? What impact is that going to have? The economists themselves can't agree. So conservative management of government finances seems to be thrown out the door. The debate around vaccines, the safety, the non-safety thereof, and anybody who questions vaccines is accused of being an anti-vaxxer. And yet, world-class scientists are taken off social media for daring to question the safety of vaccines. That's what's going on during the week. In Australia, sport, Australian rules football, at least, is going on, and the debate is going on around transgender women. So just imagine playing football against a big 6'4" bloke who suddenly decides that he's becoming a woman. I am absolutely opposed to this nonsensical idea that a man who wants to identify as a woman can therefore play sport against women despite his obvious physical advantages. Outrageous. I reject it entirely. And Joe Biden has come out and said, yes, transgender men can play against the women. If I was a woman, I would absolutely refuse to play sport against a bloke where physical prowess makes a difference. Darts, no dramas. The other thing that happened during the week is I ran my second masterclass on self-awareness and passion, on the self-awareness and passion quest. Please come along to one of these masterclasses. You will gain great benefit. I share with you 15 practical tools that can change your life, some of which I've explored in this show. But over the course of an hour, just an hour, you will get some wonderful insights, some wonderful practical tools that you can use. I will be running another masterclass in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I also attended numerous learning events, webinars, seminars. It is so wonderful how much information, how much learning we can do now on the internet as a consequence of the coronavirus lockdown. So that's been a wonderful blessing, one of the blessings of the lockdowns. On Saturday, I attended a wonderful get-together by DC Cordova from graduates of a program called Money and You that I did back 28 years ago that led to me stopping being a lawyer. And her main guest was a guy called Bill Allen. And he reminded me of a wonderful principle that also is relevant to Easter. And that is that there is far greater joy in giving than receiving. And so he shared this idea that if you had a friend who needed help and you had resources where you could help that friend, and that friend didn't ask you for help, how would you feel? Because there is deeper joy in giving than receiving. How would you feel if your friend who you could help, who needed help, didn't ask you? And Bill Allen beautifully puts that. He says, never be afraid to ask. And we're talking about Christian principles. And there's a beautiful line in the Bible that says, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open to you. It's a beautiful reminder. If you want to pitch an idea, if you know someone who could help you in implementing an idea, be willing to ask. And don't rip off the person, the friend, the connection that you have by being scared to ask. A wonderful reminder. And of course, during the week, I'm happy to say that I was able to do exercise every day, and I hope that my sharing of such exercise provokes you to keep getting back into it and doing the physical exercise that will keep your magnificent machine operational. Now for today's big idea. Before I do get to that idea, I invite you to visit our websites, covest.com for corporate programs, for public programs, speeches and workshops, and charlescovest.com for details of the Self-Awareness and Passion Quest. Subscribe to Passion Points to ponder. Invest in your passion journey by buying my books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, also available on the websites. And please subscribe to this YouTube channel or to this podcast, if you like it, of course. So, today's big idea, why Easter matters. All my life I've been grateful for Easter. I therefore playfully say the subtitle to this week's episode is Thank God Jesus Came Along. I've loved Easter. Easter celebrates the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ for Christians. Without Christ, there would be no Easter. That's what this is about. It's a commemoration. So Christ and Easter are intertwined. Christianity and Easter are intertwined. It's interesting that the whole world that is not Christian celebrates Easter. We are a Hungarian origin family, and most Hungarians are Catholic. So in my upbringing in Australia, where I was born, I was taught to drink coffee by the Italians. No, by my parents and Italians. We made a big deal of Easter in our family. From an early age, the build up to Easter was big for weeks and weeks, and there would be Lent, there would be Ash Wednesday, and I remember going to Carnival in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, the famous Carnival in 1990. And Carnival is this amazing 5 days of debauchery that ends on Shrove Tuesday, Pancake Tuesday, the night before Ash Wednesday. And Brazil being a predominantly Catholic country. So there's these 5 nights of Carnival and then 40 days of Lent. Well, all my life as a kid, I would deny myself something in Lent to get to this space of self-discipline, and because we were taught that in school. And so this 40-day build-up to this celebration of Easter. And then as a kid, we didn't have much, but gosh, there was always a present at Christmas. There were Easter eggs. It was so exciting. And Palm Sunday, the Sunday before Easter, and then reading in the Bible at school would be taught about the Passion of Christ and all of these religious celebrations, these Christian celebrations, but they also guided me on my spiritual journey. It influenced my thinking, this anticipation, and you might say, hey, I was brainwashed into it. No, I wasn't. I had wonderful mentors. And that's another conversation indeed. I might do a topic on that one day as to, great mentors that I've had. But these feelings around Easter, and I want to share with you why Easter matters now, but I'm just giving you a bit of background into the big impact that it had on my life. In the Hungarian community, we had a regular fete, a huge fundraising fete for the Hungarian community. And so there were weeks of preparation for that. On Good Friday, there would be the setting up of the stalls. On Saturday, putting the stuff in the stalls and the cooking of food by all these volunteers. And then Sunday, a big open-air mass where the Archbishop of Melbourne would come and say mass for hundreds and hundreds of primarily Hungarians in an open-air forum in Armidale in the state of Victoria. Amazing experiences, and that community working together, the value of that community giving of themselves for the benefit of the community was a big influencer, if you like, in my thinking about the value of giving. That's why I'm involved in 6 charities right now. All my life I have been involved in not-for-profit organisations because I saw, despite my parents never having money, having 6 children, the contribution that they made to the community in which they lived. And it's a salutary reminder to you of the contribution that you are making or not making to the community in which you live, because it is in giving that we receive. The power that when you give of yourself, you receive enormous rewards. So let me share with you 7 specific reasons, more specific reasons why Easter matters. Number 1, it commemorates the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, according to the Bible. And that thought of the sacrifice of a person, Jesus Christ, allegedly the Son of God, and the sacrifice and giving of yourself and the need to sacrifice. And shortly we'll have Anzac Day coming up, and we honour people who make sacrifices. How do you sacrifice? Secondly, Christianity's impact. Without Jesus Christ, there's no Christianity. Christianity's impact on our planet over the past 2,000 years. Thirdly, Western civilization, as it is in Australia, America, Europe, is founded in Christian principles. It didn't just come out of nothing, because Western civilization is different as a consequence of Christian principles. Fourth reason, civilization as it is now, when you look at the history of civilization over the last 2,000 years, at the slaughters, at the wiping out of people, of tribes, and how often does that happen now compared to how it used to happen? And you look at that history, if you study history, then you can see the amazing advances that we have made in the development of our thinking over the last 2,000 years. It helps to give us perspective, to understand that history. I've shared with you previously 2 books written by Richard Feidler on the history of Prague and the history of Constantinople, now Istanbul. You read those long journeys, those 1,000+ year journeys, you see what wonderful circumstances in which most of us live today. That didn't happen by chance. It followed what we have now. It followed as a consequence of observing certain values, certain principles. The 5th reason why Easter matters is it gives us a holiday. So that instead of being in the grind, in March, April, you come from having had Christmas, then you're back in the grind, and then suddenly there is a 3 or 4 or 5 day break. Holidays are wonderful things. I love holidays. That's another reason why it matters, because it gives us a framework around the course of a year. The 6th reason why Easter matters is because it forces us through our whole society to think about, to become aware of spiritual matters, not to be caught up in the day-to-day work, in the day-to-day earning money, but to be challenged with this question of spirituality, of what you think about spirituality. Are you just going to ignore it, or is it going to impact on your decision-making in life? And number 7, why Easter matters, is because it forces us to look at values. Christian values, the values of sacrifice, the values of giving, the values of caring about other people, the Christian values that each one of us matters as a person. So if you are leading a team, what does that precisely mean to you, the spiritual message of Easter? How do you lead the people in your team? What do you actually think of them as a person? Do they matter as a person actually, or are you just looking at them as a function, that their only value is as a function, not as people, not as individuals? That's what Easter helps us to do. it forces you to answer this question: what matters to you? And that is a self-awareness journey, to understand what matters to you, what matters to me. And that takes work. It's a lifetime of work to say, this is what matters. This is what I will fight for. This is the principle by which, or the principles by which, or the values by which I will make my decision making. I say, thank God Jesus came along. Thank God we have Easter. I say Easter matters. I hope I've provoked you to think about why Easter matters. So, the song of the week. I'm going to go with the spiritual theme, of course, because it's Easter. I want to remind you, some of you would have heard this tune before.
Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love.
That is a hymn based on the prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. And it has a beautiful line in it. So that's the song. If you go and find that tune on YouTube, and there's a beautiful line in it that fulfills this theme. That first sentence that you just heard, where there is hatred, let me sow love. And there's another line in this beautiful prayer that says, in giving, it is in giving of ourselves that we receive. My quote for the week is from James Allen in his famous book, As a Man Thinketh. And it goes like this. The vision that you glorify in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this you will build your life by, and this you will become. Another way of saying that is you become what you think about most of the time. What is the vision you have for your life? My spiritual tip is to invite you to meditate at this quiet time of Easter, to meditate on your values, to revisit your values, and ask yourself, are you making your decisions on a day-to-day basis based on your values? Have you articulated your values, and have you put them into a scale of values in order? Because you can't live your values all the time. You have to make value judgments. My health tip for you, because I've been talking about Hungarian matters, is to meditate on the question of the balance in your life. I say to you, my favorite definition of health is based on the Hungarian word egészség, meaning wholeness. Your health is the optimal, unique balance for you of mental, physical, and spiritual elements. So my tip is to meditate on how well you are balancing that. How optimal is it for your unique needs for you as a human being? My book of the week is called Anti-Woke, a series of essays by Brendan O'Neill. I am anti-woke. The woke movement is a total nonsense. So you've heard me say that earlier in this show. I invite you to get hold of this excellent book to help articulate your own thinking about woke matters. And lastly, a spot of humour. So we've been in the spirituality now. Let's get a little bit risque and a bit funny, you know, just to get a little bit of balance, you know, so that I'm not too serious for you here. And I'm giving of myself, you see. I'm giving to you of my sense of humour. And of course, because we're talking about spiritual matters at Easter, this joke is particularly relevant. A man driving down a deserted stretch of highway sees a sign. It says, "The Sisters of Mercy House of Prostitution, 10 miles. He thinks, oh, it's just a figment of his imagination, and drives on. Soon he sees another sign which says, "Sisters of Mercy House of Prostitution, 5 miles. And realizes, these signs are for real. When he drives past a third sign saying, the Sisters of Mercy, House of Prostitution, next right, his curiosity gets the best of him. He pulls into the drive. On the far side of the parking lot is a sombre stone building with a small sign next to the door reading Sisters of Mercy. He climbs the steps, rings the bell. The door is opened by a nun in a long black habit. By the way, they were the types of nuns in long black habits who taught me at Dominican schools when I was a kid. The nun says, "What may we do for you?" He answers, "I saw your signs along the highway and was interested in possibly doing business." "Very well, my son, please follow me." He's led through many winding passages, soon quite disoriented. The nun stops at a closed door and tells the man, "Please knock on this door." He does, as he is told, and this door is answered by another nun in a long habit and holding a tin cup. This nun instructs, "Please place $50 in the cup. Then go through the large wooden door at the end of this hallway." He gets $50 out of his wallet, places it in the second nun's cup. He trots eagerly down the hall and slips through the door, pulling it shut behind him. As the door locks behind him, he finds himself back in the parking lot, facing another small sign. "Go in peace, you have just been screwed by the Sisters of Mercy." Outrageous, I know, but I thought I'd give you a bit of outrage here at Easter time. So, think about how this week's big idea in this show might be of value to you. How this week's show could make a difference to your life. If you put in place the practices, the tips, the ideas I've shared with you, what value would it add to your life? I again invite you to visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. Subscribe to this YouTube channel or to this podcast. Share this show with your friends, with your family, with your networks. I'd be most grateful. Explore my work in depth in my books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance. And at this time of Easter, may the upcoming week keep you more in the state of peace and personal happiness, where you access more spirituality in your life this week, where you don't get caught up in crazy work, but you have an opportunity to be more meditative this week, so that you raise your level of awareness, of gaining an insight into what you truly deeply want, so that you become, down the track, the person that you enthrone in your heart. Have a great week. Thanks for being with us. I look forward to being with you next week. Bye.